Welcome back to another episode of the Thriving Inside the Thin Blue Line podcast. My name is Monica Crawford, owner of 50 Fierce and Fit, and author of Thriving Inside the Thin Blue Line. Today we have Leslie on the podcast, and Leslie, I'll go ahead and open it up to you for you to say hello and maybe introduce yourself a little bit.
Very great. Hi, everybody. Um, I am a mom. I have two grandchildren. I have a background in athletics and business from the petroleum industry. And like Monica, I'm originally from Oklahoma. I live in Texas now. And I just tell everybody here in Texas that it's Baja, Oklahoma. So you know how I feel about Oklahoma.
Whereabouts in Oklahoma were you?
Tulsa.
Oh, you were in Tulsa. Oh, very cool.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
familiar with the area.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was born and raised there. Went to high school there, went to OU. So swam on the men's swim team my freshman year because there was no women's swimming. So now I'm dating myself a little bit. And then Title IX came along and I got the first athletic scholarship that they gave at the University of Oklahoma to a female athlete. And I actually still hold Big Eight when we were part of the Big Eight then. And I actually still hold Big Eight titles, and I'm an O Club member. And I still hold records because they discontinued women's swimming in the 90s, but I did hold records for what, 15 years or so, for quite some time. So,
That's really cool.
yeah, my parents put us in swimming because I'm the oldest of five, and it was a way to keep us out of trouble. With my kids basically 2 years apart, and then the youngest, there was always someone to get in trouble with. That's what I always said growing up. There was always someone to get in trouble with.
Very
So,
cool.
hmm
Trailblazer from the early beginnings. I like it.
yes, yeah,
Well, I'm sure we'll circle back to this, but I want to start the podcast like I do all of my other episodes, or at least one episode we ended it with, well, slightly different. But we'll kick this off today. What does it mean to you to thrive inside the thin blue line, which for you would be life and career because obviously you have different backgrounds. So I'd love to hear that.
sure. I think it's a fascinating question. You might be surprised to realize that there actually is a thin blue line in business, and that is when you're in business for yourself, the question that what separates the successful from the maybe not so successful is the thin blue line is what are you doing when no one's looking? And that is uh so I have a global team around the world, and I always ask myself if what I'm doing right now, if everybody that I'm coaching and working with, if they're doing that, would we be growing? So it really is success is what are you doing when no one's looking? Because success is built in those moments when you're alone, when you're by yourself. So it's that consistent, persistent, and it is a thin blue line because it may not matter in one day or a week or a month if you're not being in integrity with what it takes to grow your business or be successful, but it catches up to you over time. It's the slight edge.
Okay.
So hopefully, I mean, I don't know if you've ever thought about it that way,
I
but
haven't.
it is a thin line because you can cross it without even knowing it, really. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a background as in the police world, so I might be mischaracterizing that, but that is would that be accurate? Like you could cross that. It's like it's a thin line because as humans, sometimes we're in the moment and we just do things for the moment, don't really think about it. But it's that conscious, consistent. who are you when no one's looking?
Yeah. That's why I love that open-ended question because it gets wildly different responses. So there's definitely no right or wrong, and that's why I like it being open to interpretation because that's cool how you immediately related it to law enforcement, even though it's real. I mean, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, that's the whole purpose of my podcast. Like, yeah, I have the law enforcement background and also many other things in addition to that. But that's why I wanted to have this podcast platform is to make like there is ties back to law enforcement, but there's so much more to life than law enforcement. So that's what I want my listeners to experience, I suppose, and think about.
I think it's actually I had never thought about it before, but I think that phrase actually applies a lot more to life than most people have ever really thought about.
100%. What you're doing when no one's looking. So, how do you apply that in your own life?
Well, in other words, I work for myself. So uh, I don't have a boss. And I could be, I could be doing laundry in the middle of the day when I shouldn't be. And when you work from home, it is a whole different personality. It's quite fascinating. Uh, when you work for yourself, it's really a lot about mindset and personal growth and working on yourself to be a little bit better than you were the day before. So I'm going to go back to athletics. When I graduated from university, I just left all of that behind me. And then a couple of years in, being a female in a man's totally like I was like the fifth or sixth female to get the degree I have. So one day I said, all those things I learned through athletics, goal setting, competing, being a little bit better every day, I think that applies to business too. Wake up. And so that's that really is when you work for yourself, it really is doing the things that will get you to where you want to go. And that thin blue line is it's easy to default to taking a break and going to the movies or what. I mean, I don't, I've been practicing this so long that it's the power of question. So I have a habit of asking myself, okay, is what I'm doing right now going to get me to my goal? Is what I'm doing right now, if people that I'm working with, if they're doing it alone at home, would we all be moving collectively towards our goal? Because what I love about swimming is it's an individual sport and a team sport. And I think that piece is well, I know that piece has been very helpful in business because I could never have done what I'd done without a good team. Collectively, I'm swimming an individual sport, and as a team, our goal is to put all of us put points on the board. So hopefully that was clear.
You're speaking my language. I was a collegiate gymnast. So again, individual and team.
Yes.
And the difference there too is as a club sport coming up through high school, it's mostly individual. The team is mostly secondary, but it flips when you get to college, where it's everything is focused on the team. You still get those individual honors at meets, whether you win the event or regionals, nationals, obviously those national individual titles, but it's more of where the team finishes is higher versus where you finish.
That's true. I swam AAU in high school. Um, you'll find this funny. So I wanted to swim on our high school swim team in Tulsa. And I asked the athletic director because my times were faster, because I was swimming AAU. And I asked the athletic director, and he said, "Honey, if you beat the boys, they might quit." He's talking about the boys on my high school team. I'm like, oh, isn't that the point? Like,
Not my
don't we want to
problem.
be the best? I was like, All right, this is too weird. He was the football coach too, so he didn't get it. And women weren't very much in sports uh, as a general, kind of a general rule. My sister, 2 years behind me, swam on the high school team. She was really good. She swam at state, so and it was fun. And the state championship was at OU when I was in school, so I got to go cheer her on. And then we swam against each other at she was a distance swimmer, OSU and OU. She went to OSU. So I know for the audience listening, we're talking about Oklahoma universities, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma University, big rivalry.
Yes,
But I'm grateful that my parents put us in swimming to keep us out of trouble. I think if you've got uh, girls, I would definitely put them in some type of sports. It really helped me be a more rounded human, primarily for the setting goals piece, which you need in life. I think God, we're going to go off on another tangent.
go
God
for
put
it.
us here.
I'm
God
here
put
for
us
it.
here God put us here to learn and grow and be our best version and then to serve others like you help women. And God did not give us a brain as a planner. He gave us the gift of imagination. And that's where vision and goals and all of that comes into play. That's how your brain's actually wired.
Yeah. That's funny you say that your parents put you in a sport to keep you out of trouble. I think mine just didn't want me to climb the cabinets. Legitimately, they're like, she's climbing the cabinets and the couch. How about we do gymnastics? My mom grew up in cheer and dance, and so she did some tumbling and stuff. And my dad played football in college as well for a Division II school, so it clearly was in the bloodline. But yeah, they were just like, she needs to quit climbing our furniture. We're gonna give her something else to
I,
climb.
I wanted to do diving too. I My parents had me in ballet, I think because I was tall, long-legged, a little bit, uncoordinated, gangly. So I was doing ballet and swimming weren't very compatible, but I wanted to do diving as well. And my mom's like, because I mean, I got my driver's license the day I turned 16, so I could drive everybody to swimming practice at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
It was a lot, but they kept us very active. My brothers played baseball, just everything geared around helping to help us. I think in general, just the energy of kids and keeping them in sports is probably a good plan.
100%.
So,
Well, it sounds like I'm picking up on this theme, and this is really, really timely for me. The niche that I'm expanding to within my nutrition and fitness coaching business is moving more from solely focusing on female first responders to expanding to trailblazing women who are stuck in survival mode. And I've teetered with sticking with like women in male-driven fields or just like trailblazing women in general. And I landed on the trailblazing women in general because I think it spans across a myriad of things and a lot of the traits in women inherently we're living in survival mode because we don't know anything else just because we get into the loop of like the eat, sleep, work, repeat cycle. And then we get the other people's opinions that are put into it too, especially if you're in a male driven field, especially if there's that societal pressure to be smaller, to stay in that box where you're more comfortable for like it makes everybody else feel more comfortable. And so I'm over here going, nope, don't do it. You can do these big things. Like these are your goals. Don't let anybody tell you no. That's how I've lived my life so far. So you came from like you started paving your way as far as being like on a swim team that wasn't even built for women, which eventually led to them having a female or a women's swim team. And then on top of that, I would love to hear your beginnings in petroleum because that's another challenging career field for women as well.
you know, Um, it's quite interesting. That was driven by, well, what was funny was my father. So understand that, my generation, not women didn't always go to college. Um, and my I remember growing up that my father would say when the boys go to college, and my mother was always, and the girls, because there's three girls and two boys. And then my father, he wanted me to be a nurse. Uh, and I think the medical profession is amazing. I mean, my husband's doctor, he was doctor of pharmacology, and we met after he retired at a young age. But my father, so I went to school as to be a physical therapist, and it was the first year they offered that degree at OU. Someone at my church had, I thought it was pretty cool. I obviously clearly love helping people, making a difference, even at a young age. But the program was way too disorganized, really disorganized. And now it's an excellent program. I'm not knocking it, but this was the very first year. So then all my friends, so this is the competitive side. So then all my friends were flunking accounting. So I thought, well, I'll try accounting because it must be challenging. And in life, in business, and sports, it's all about strategies. And so I figured out the reason they were flunking is they were trying to cram for an accounting test. You cannot cram for accounting. You have to do, it's the slight edge, which is business, is you have to do a little bit. You have to do your homework. You have to learn every day. And so one day my father, I told him, I'm not sure I want to be an accountant. Like, this is like, it was boring to me. I he said, so wise. He said, well, do you want to work with people or do you not want to work with people? Actually, first he said, well, it's not a field I would have chosen, but it's your life. And that's part of empowering. That's why I love empowering women, and I love empowering people because I was very empowered as a child. I mean, I had parameters, don't get me wrong, and I got my share of the hairbrush spanking, which you can't do now. Um, but he sat me down and he said, well, that's not a field I would have chosen. Do you want to work with people or do you not want to work with people? I think that I was like, sometimes, your parents come out. I was like, I want to work with people. He goes, well, that you're in the wrong field. So I said, okay. And he was a petroleum engineer, very well known in the mid-continent. There's still legislation and methods of calculating royalties that were attributed to him, legislation, etc. A bill named after him. And I said, I want to be in the petroleum industry. I'm in the business school, and there's this new field that is, so it's a business degree with geology, engineering, and law. And that's what I did. I got a degree in petroleum land management. And it was a fun time. It was amazing. I came out of school uh, right before the oil embargo in the late 70s. So I went far fast because price of oil went sky high. Things were totally crazy. It was learning like by the seat of your pants. You're drilling wells just because you had rigs available. And even if I didn't have it everything ready to go, you're like playing catch up. It was a crazy time. But Monica, I got to the executive level, and I said to myself, literally, I said, this is fun now, but I am not going to be going to work in the dark, coming home in the dark, and working weekends in my 50s. So I need to start a business. I need to be in business for myself. Well, here's a sad thing about a business degree. They teach you how to work for someone else, not how to evaluate a business, not how to work for yourself. So when you work for yourself, you go from having all the staff to you being the whole staff. So, from being the janitor to the secretary to everything else until you can build a team of people. But so that was my father's a petroleum engineer. I was like, oh, I'd love to work with my dad. And I did not. I was able to go to conferences with him. We weren't in the same field because he was an engineer, so he was in the production side mostly, and I was in the exploration side, which was the fun side, the side that never. And for those of you, one of my brothers is still in Oklahoma, and if you've ever watched Landman on Netflix, that is not an accurate depiction.
We love that show, but that's interesting that you say
I
that.
know he I've never seen it, but he was telling me about it. He said he laughs his butt off because he goes, I'm pretty sure Leslie's never done any of that. So it's not accurate for the job description.
Darn it. It's like watching
It's
CSI and expecting the cops to do the same shit they do. It's sort of like, nope, doesn't work that way.
okay. So you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And someone asked me, who was it? I don't remember. Someone asked me just a few days ago, why was it called a landman? I said, because it's short for land management. It has nothing to do with gender. So you will never hear of a land woman. It makes no sense. And I actually, you know what I said at the time? I don't care what they call me. Because that, in the 80s, I was like, I don't care what they call me. They pay me really well. So I'm good. But it was a really fun time. But I got laid off. Fortunately, I had I started in direct sales. My next door neighbor shared with me. So as a landman, the deals I put together, I actually got a royalty, and I still have some tiny small royalties that come in for the deals I put together. They don't do that anymore with employees, but I understood that affiliate uh, like residual income with products, et cetera. So my neighbors shared wellness with me. And I have a true love of wellness from being a swimmer because when you're swimming 10 miles a day, which we were, they don't do that quantity now. It's overworking. But when you're swimming 10 miles a day at 16, you are tired all the time,
Hmm.
like all the time. So I thought, and you probably never even heard of this, but they were giving us Geritol, which was an iron supplement for elderly people for energy, which is a horrible. I mean, it's like,
Probably
no,
not necessary for a teenage kid unless they absolutely.
no. But that's how little people knew. I mean, if you went in a Walgreens or a CVS, there would be like maybe one multivitamin on the shelf, not a whole wall. And so for people that you're coaching, the beauty of that is that there's a lot of crap out there, unfortunately. There's a lot of good stuff too, and how do you cut through all of that? So anyway, that's how I ended up in the petroleum industry. Was Oklahoma was the oil capital of the world. Tulsa was the oil capital of the world when I was growing up. So it was more normal to one of my sisters became a geologist. So it was more normal than I guess people in other states would think, right?
Yeah. I mean, our baseball team is still the Tulsa Drillers. So,
Yeah,
and we have the
exactly.
Tulsa Driller at the Tulsa Expo. So, I mean, it's all still alive and well here for sure. And the funny thing is my husband actually went to University of Tulsa for his freshman year because he was going to go into petroleum engineering. And then a year in was like, this isn't for me. And went also went to law enforcement too. That's how we met. But yeah, that's so I'm sure he'll love this episode because I'll be like, hey,
So I swam, well, I swam for the Tulsa Hurricanes, AAU,
okay,
and we used the Tulsa University pool.
that's cool.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't even know
getting
if they have a pool anymore.
I don't know. I toured the campus with him once. He drove me through. I moved here in 2016. So I haven't, I mean, I've been here long, but not quite that long. So, okay, cool. So petroleum engineering, and then it sounds like your neighbor, you decided to start a business, which one of the other credos that I like is you're one decision away from a totally different life. So it sounds like that was a good pivotal moment for you. Um, and your neighbor shared some wellness with you. So tell me how you got into business and where that took off for you.
Well, I actually did two things pretty much at the same time. Because when I was swimming, I was, when I was in college, actually, I started in high school lifting weights, and then swimming builds quite a bit of long, big muscles, not much definition. So when I graduated college, my I had like a 16-inch neck. You've seen
Oh
swimmers,
yeah. It's upper
and
body,
I'm
traps
small
and lats.
boned.
They're like this.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm small boned. Yeah, that was fun. Size 14 jacket and an 8 skirt. Thank God we wore suits in business back then, like little men. We don't do that anymore. I
Yep.
still like, a little bit have a shape like that. But I found the Houston Ballet. So when I graduated, I moved to Houston, took a job here, and worked my way up to the executive level. And I found the Houston Ballet had a Pilates studio that was open to the public. And then they decided to close it, but it helped me lengthen everything back out, like give me a little bit of definition. And I'm laughing. I'll never forget the Pilates instructor. He didn't know what I did. And this is when I was working in the oil industry. He told me, he goes, with legs like yours, you could go to Vegas and make $300 a day for a
But
week
yeah,
or
I don't
something like
need
that.
that.
I'm
We
like,
good
I
here.
make way more than that, dude.
If only you knew, but I'm not going to let you know. I'm just going to let you think that
I
and go
told
on
him, I
about my
said,
day.
no thanks. So funny. People are so in. You know, I've learned over the years as I work with so many people is just to not take myself too seriously. So that's why I laugh at some of this. But they closed the Pilates studio, and I thought, well, this is everybody needs to know about Pilates. I'm going to start a Pilates studio. So I did that. We had to build the machines. We had to get the blueprints from the woman in New York who was uh, trained by Joseph Pilates. So we did all of that. Oh my God, what a nightmare. And everybody, it's funny when I tell people, oh yeah, I opened the first Pilates studio in Houston that was open to the public. And after the Houston Ballet closed it, they kept it in-house. And everybody to a T always goes, oh, wow, it's amazing. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the 80s. No one had heard of Pilates. No one. It was when we did. So my mom and dad came down from Tulsa to my grand opening, and I watched my father walk around with this weird look on his face. So if you've have you ever been in a Pilates studio with the equipment and the machines, with the cables and the straps and all the stuff? And I had the big Cadillac bar with poles on each four corners that you do different exercises on. My father, it's was pretty kinky looking. I stepped back and I thought, oh, this is kind of weird looking. I guess and then I was like, okay, let's do a demo to explain to everybody how this works. I ended up, Monica, turning it into a women's gym because it was just when you're a business, it's important to understand, are you having to educate people to a need, or are you serving something that they're looking for? So if you're starting growing a business, it's best to find a niche with something they're looking for. How do you stand out in that? Because if you're educating people to a need, which is what I was doing, no one had heard of Pilates. So we will give a business lesson here. So in 94, so that was 84. In 94, my youngest sister calls me and she goes, "Oh my God, I just saw in Glamour magazine that Pilates is the hottest exercise in California, New York." And I said, "This is Texas. We're still in the
Slightly
middle.
different demographic.
No one's heard of it yet." And then my one of my brothers, who's a scientist, he's got a wicked laugh. He calls me, I think it was in December of 2004, and he goes, "Business Week just published that Pilates is the hottest exercise out there." And I went, "Yeah, 20 years later." I was 20 years ahead of my time.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So, when you're in business, you got to look at timing. It's like location and real estate. And so, to answer your question, when my neighbor shared that I could share product, I call it share the love business model, because I get to share products that I'm using, that I love, and people either want them or they don't. But then I learned as I earned. I found people to mentor me, coach me, work with me, take, that raw material and help me get where I wanted to go. So when I got laid off because I made too much money, quote unquote,
Hmm.
and they put the two people I'd been training in my job that made less money than me, I had that wellness business to fall back on. But then another piece that I didn't think about. So the company was started by a doctor. Do they teach doctors how to run a business in medical school?
Nope.
But at 28, I thought, well, if you're starting a business, you must know what you're doing. That's how naive I was. I mean, really think about it. Why would you start a business if you didn't know what you were doing? And that's how little they taught me in business school. That's why I say they don't teach you how to evaluate a business. So it's been a process, and I really think with anything in life, it's falling or failing forward, and you just keep moving forward. So that business didn't work out. But so you're going to laugh. So the way I met Anthony Robbins, because I actually worked with him and took him into the business marketplace, which is why I'm very big on personal growth. He joined that company, my first direct sales network marketing company. He loved the wellness products that they have because he's big into health and wellness. So I worked with him for a number of years, and then one day I went, I'm in the same place I was in corporate. I'm just building someone else's dream. So then I went back to being an independent affiliate. Had a lot of success, traveled the world. It's how I met my husband. He had retired from pharmacy because of direct sales, because he was making 3 times his pharmacy salary, and we both were uh, had the same. We met and really were in business together first, doing coaching, training, consulting, and then decided there was more to it. Got married, and we've been able to travel the world. We retired. The current company I'm with, a book that your members would enjoy, I think, anyone who's in business or wants more out of life, is a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I retired. He contacted us in 2010 and said, "Hey, I'm going to launch a company. I'm going to take all the gotchas out of this direct sales space," because he'd already had success came from a corporate background and similar background to me as in coming through corporate and then finding that space and the time freedom. And so I said, okay, I'm in. And we launched a company. We did 100 million our first year with one night treatment. So I am wearing no foundation. I'm going to just give a little plug.
Yeah, go
I
for
was
it.
a life I was a lifeguard and a swimmer. There was no sunscreen when I was a teenager. So they, because of the skincare products, discoloration's gone. When I renewed my passport, they made me go drive downtown Houston to prove I'd sent a current photo in because no one looks the same after 10 years.
Right. That's
Or
bizarre.
actually a little bit younger. It was pretty funny. It's because I had expedited it. Um, I had 3 weeks, and it's because I was going to China. This was before the pandemic, right before. And, they have restrictions. And so they didn't believe I'd sent a current photo in. I started laughing. But I drove down there and said, here's my face. They gave me my passport, said, what are you doing? I need what you're doing. It was funny. So,
That's funny. I'll take the compliment. Thanks.
yeah,
I guess I'll take the compliment for my inconvenience of time of having to go do this for you.
Bernie, it's like yes. I actually thought my husband was joking when he said they will not give me your passport. And I'm like, that's funny, Ron. He goes, no, they want to see your face. I was like, "Oh, okay. Because it's 30-45 minute drive from where I am. I'm north of Houston in the woodlands, in
Okay.
the woods. A lot like it actually reminds me of Tulsa with the except no hills with the 150-foot hardwoods, unlike Houston, which is the coastal plain.
Yeah. Very cool. That's incredible. So as far as your wellness business is as it is now, what is it that you're still doing currently?
Well, what I'm doing now is I we do have uh, it's 360 degrees of anti-aging inside and out. But what I'm the most excited about is May 1st, just a few months ago, I don't know, we launched the first natural topical alternative to Botox and fillers. I'm very excited because I've had a lifelong uh, of health, wellness. My mother is 101 and she's on no meds. And she literally raised us on what we would now know as a clean diet, not fried, which is pretty rare in Oklahoma for the time, no canned food. So she set that foundation for us. And so it's very hard. The challenge in the skincare space, which I was looking because I was starting to show a lot of sun damage, um, is you have clean products that don't get results, and you have performance products with a ton of chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And not all clean beauty is the same, and it doesn't always get results. So that's what we launched: patented ingredient from here, one night cream. Did 100 million. Patented ingredient from Princeton University who have the exclusive rights. So that's a key in business if you've got something that no one else can get. But we just launched this as a topical alternative. It actually just pumps out 2 pumps and you treat it and then put your day and night cream on top of it, 30 seconds, morning and night, and no chemicals, no toxins. And so that's part of my mission is to help women save time, money, and do it in a manner that they look fresh, not frozen, really.
Yeah.
Do it in a manner that it supports the health of your body.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Really cool.
yeah, it's fun. You know what's interesting is I had never done skincare like that. I'd always been involved in wellness products, and no one ever called me and asked me, "What are you eating? What are you doing?" But once people start looking better, then they started calling me and saying, "What do you eat? What are
Hmm.
you taking? What do you do?" I'm like, probably same for you. Once they start getting more fit and feel better about themselves, then they want to know, more. So it's been a lot of fun. I like to say I provide solutions for confidence. And I think that's similar to what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those things that I found personally that like it's people want to have that confidence, but from a marketing standpoint, it gets challenging to define, I feel like what that confidence really means because it means something different to everybody.
And that's true. And by the way, I don't want to leave the men out because men love it because it's one step. It's not like 8 steps.
Cool.
So,
Awesome. I love all this. So, another one of the credos of the show and of the book and everything that I'm doing is that we rise by lifting others, but first we must lift ourselves. So, I know you said you're always striving towards personal growth. So, I'd love to wrap this up with if you could come off the cuff with like 3 tips that you would give anybody on how to prioritize their personal growth or things that would help them work towards their own personal growth.
okay. Well, first of all, is when you wake, it does have to do with your morning routine. So if you don't have 10 minutes in the morning, then you don't have a life. And I would say hardest habit ever is not picking up your phone first thing in the morning, especially if you're like me and I'll most of the time I get to sleep till I'm done, but there are times when I have to set an alarm and then you're turning off the alarm and then it's the habit. So we are a collection of habits. So it's the habit of taking those first few moments in the morning for yourself. And even just 1 minute before you get out of bed. So something actually, Monica, started uh, practicing. So for years, I've practiced when you get in bed at night. So I'm kind of going to go backwards so you could under. So when I get in bed at night, uh, my husband and I, you could do this by yourself or with your husband or spouse or significant other, but we ask what were 3 wins today,
Hmm.
and they can be little, but it makes you focus on the positive of the day instead of going, oh my God, I didn't get anything done today. That negative self talk, we all have that. That's unfortunately a little bit programmed into us. And then what are you grateful for? So I've been doing that for years, but I just started literally, and I'm excited to share this because it's worked so well. I started about 2 weeks ago. Alarm goes off, don't look at the phone, lay there for a moment and think about my day and what is one win for me for the day. So and that way it helps crystallize. Now that I guess that really only works. I'd have to back up when I do next level growth coaching. You do have to plan. I always plan tomorrow before today ends. So I'm looking at I'm looking at I think I actually confirmed with you yesterday, didn't
You
I?
did. Yep.
It might have been it was a little bit late, but I was looking at my day last night. And you can do it at 4 or 5 o'clock. Don't wait till you get in bed. That's my big tip. I used to wait till I got in bed and I was like falling asleep trying to figure out my schedule. So I was looking at tomorrow. So you always plan tomorrow before the day ends. That lets you be ahead of life, not behind life. That is, it sounds so simple, but it's a huge key for successful people. And so that means in the morning, I'm thinking about my day because I've already planned it and I know it's there, but I'm just in my mind thinking about what's the biggest win for me today? What's one thing that I would win? And and then I get that in my mind. And then I like to do stretching, a little bit of mobility, breathing. I get up first and I drink water. uh, I drink water with salt, and then I do a little bit of stretching and mobility. You could do prayer time, whatever those 10 minutes, just saying 10 minutes. But that 1 minute before you get out of bed, it actually sets the tone for the day. So, and then I gave you a little bit of my evening routine, and I actually gave you three things. I think I kind of went
Yeah,
around the bend, but
yeah,
the planning tomorrow before today ends, kind of like if you went on vacation, if you're going anywhere on vacation. I don't know why people don't plan their life the way they plan a vacation. If you really think about it, you always know what you're going to do the next day on vacation. It might just be you're chilling out, but you know. And Monica, it's called being pulled, not pushing life, being pulled through life because you're being pulled by what your vision is. So planning tomorrow before the day ends, um, the morning routine. And I would say part of that morning routine should really, there's so much research on out loud verbalizing affirmations, declarations, whatever you want to call it. Is I'll tell you, I had a billionaire mentor. He's passed away. He's worth 2 billion. His businesses are global and they're still in business. It's a leadership management Inc. And the affirmation he, I don't care if it was a shareholder meeting, it was very straight laced business people. Every meeting he started, he made everybody stand up and say, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I feel terrific. And so just a few of those after you decide what your win is will really help set the expectation and the tone for the day. And if you get up late and you're behind the curveball, then I always say to myself, I have plenty of time, everything works out. I coach myself. You got this, you can do it. You know, you've gotten ready in 10 minutes before. I have when I slept once late and I was supposed to be at a flight. Like it's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it. So it really, the way you talk to yourself, that first bit in the morning and the way you're talking to yourself. And there's a lot of science behind what I'm sharing, and I'm guessing in your programs you probably share that with people. But that I am healthy, I am happy, I feel terrific. And the last tip I'll leave you with is that if you say that to yourself and your brain says, you know, no, you're not, then skip around your house and say it. You cannot be negative when you're skipping. It engages an entirely different part of the brain. I know it sounds hilarious, but I've actually done workshops where I made everybody do that, skip around the room, and it just helps to rewire. All you're doing is rewiring your brain to, I mean, God gave us that gift to be able to do that. So hopefully those help. I could talk about this stuff all day long. Sorry,
no, that's
long
awesome.
answer.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually incredible that you started with finding 10 minutes a day for yourself because that's one of those things that is a pinnacle of my program and how I coach. Because again, it goes back to running yourself ragged and you don't make time for it's like you don't make time for yourself. You make time for everybody else, but you don't make time for yourself. So that's one of the things that I go back as far as like if people are having a rough time, they're like, I've fallen off the wagon, like my diet's gone to shit, like all of these things, and I'm super stressed. And I think they're shocked when I will say, how was your sleep? What can we do for self-care? And they're like,
Wait,
wait,
I'll
like, there's no like food thing, there's no exercise thing. Like it's just like these, yes, for 1 week, just focus on these two things, and then we'll get back on track with everything else.
So since I run a global business, I had somebody ask, I used to tell people, oh, I'm headed to yoga or I'm headed to the gym or whatever. And one time I had, and then I started feeling guilty because people were asking me to do stuff. And one time I had someone say, how do you have time to do that? So you know what I do? When I'm planning tomorrow, I plan in what I need to do for myself. And if someone says, are you available at X time? I say, no, I already have an appointment. And that appointment is equally as important as what I'm doing to grow my business. And that's the only way you'll ever find time to
100%.
take care of yourself.
Yes, I love that. I like the line now. I'm going to use this that you should plan your life like you plan a vacation. Because the other example that I use is you wouldn't reschedule over and over with coffee with a friend. Why do you reschedule commitments with yourself?
Yeah, oh, okay. So yes. So I actually teach people because we make to-do lists. So you've got a to-do list, that's great, but it's like what are 1 to 3 priorities for the next day, and they're not a priority if it gets moved to the following day. So if you find yourself moving something 3, 4, 5, 6 times, it's not a priority. It goes back to the to-do list. So it really makes you like you get tired of moving that thing. Like just get it done. All right. Dadgummit, as we said in Oklahoma. That's what
Yes.
Father always said.
Yes. Well, cool. I think this is a great place to wrap up because all of these personal growth tips, it goes back to what are you doing when no one's looking? So, complete full circle moment there and what it means to you to thrive inside of your life and career. And obviously you're a wealth of knowledge and so had so much success in your life. So I'm so grateful I got to chat with you today.
And I'm so grateful that we got to meet.
Yes. Well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, where would they find you?
So I think you have all of my links.
Yes, I do.
I'm on Facebook as Leslie Hocker with a pink shirt on. Instagram, same way, and then I am on LinkedIn as well. But I spend more of my time probably on Facebook or Instagram.
Cool. Well, this has been an awesome episode, and I'm sure listeners will get so much out of it. I know that I did. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hang out for a second. For everyone else listening, let me know if you guys are loving this. If there's any other topics you would like to hear from the podcast, you can always reach out to me. If I don't have an answer for you, I will send you in the right direction. I'm expanding my network with all these awesome podcast guests, which is very cool. So hopefully, I'll have a person for you to help you along your way. Until next time, stay safe out there. I'll see you later.
Thank you.